Well, well, well. Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome. Hold on one second. I think we have a re. All right, that's it. We lost it. I think I know this is our Instagram is reverbing right now. All right, now Instagram is gone. I mean, it's still there, but
Okay.
can you hear me, Doctor?
I can hear you. I can hear you, Hurricane.
All right, all right. Well, welcome everyone to the monthly hour. It is your hour. This is Climb to Your Prime with Dr. Heim, the one, the only. He's with us right now, all the way from Sydney, Australia. The usual, the beautiful view back there. I cannot get past that. I mean, some people say like may just look like a bridge, but it's a special bridge.
Yeah,
um,
it is actually. They light it up at the moment because we have our light festival called Vivid here, and it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful to be here. It's just beautiful to be here from Australia to help people who have their mental health problems and to just get the message out there that you can actually be better and enjoy yourself.
Well, Doctor, it's always a pleasure having you. I enjoy this moment. This is like the hour. A lot of people actually are getting benefits of this because at least from the downloads, we know that the show is really out there and it's all over the world. So that's good. And our mission is being delivered, as we've always talked about it, is to help one person at a time. Hopefully, guide them to a better place and just better being. So that's about it. So I got a whole bunch of questions. These are like a little bit of intense ones, I guess, but I guess
Yeah,
nothing is intense for you, Doc.
you'd be
so
surprised, okay? Go ahead.
I have all the confidence in you, man. But just a quick thing before we get with the questions, folks. We are live on Instagram, Twitch, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. We're all over the map. Instagram. And so do join us, do comment, on the comments field here. If you have any questions, we can bring them live to Dr. Ham right now. We do have a series of questions that we're going to be talking about and asking right now. But certainly you guys can do, your own piece here and help us out with some additional questions live in the moment. Okay. You got your number there. You have, the little sticker, coming down on the screen. So we're live. And, that's it. Doctor, we ready?
We're ready. Let's get into it.
All right. So, question number one: how does psychiatry interact with religious beliefs? It is widely perceived that people of faith are always content and seldom stressed or have any suicidal thoughts. Is this a fact or a myth? In your expertise, does religion accept psychotherapy? Sarah from Canada.
Okay. So,
Sorry about
Sarah,
that.
that's a big question, and you've actually asked about three questions there. And so we're going to look at how does psychiatry fit in with religion? Do religions accept psychiatry? And you spoke about whether religious people actually have less suicidal thoughts and are actually happier than other people. All right. So I'm going to go through those one by one. Firstly, psychiatry, as much as we can make it, is a science. So it is based on objective knowledge, just like chemistry, just like biology, just like physics, just like cosmology, right? So we try to make it objective as we can, so that it can actually fit into the worldview of absolutely everybody. And that would include people who have different faiths and people who don't have a faith or want to see it just purely as a science. Now, the thing about psychiatry is that it has to do with the mind. So the psychia means mind. And because it has to do with the mind, it brings up the idea of something that's outside our material world, because science itself does not know what the mind actually is. But what we do know is that when your brain is working well and when you've got a full dose of good brain chemicals, your mind is working. What does this mean for religion? Well, religion is an internal thing. It's, in a sense, taking care of ideas that have to do with a world beyond our world, whereas science takes care of ideas that has to do with our world as we actually see it. So psychiatry actually belongs in that science world, but it does overlap with religions. All right, so on to your second question, Sarah, and this has to do with how much religions actually accept psychiatry, and this is actually variable. All around the world, there are different attitudes to psychiatry. Psychiatry is firstly a Western science, and because of that, it tends to have more relevance in the West. However, the science behind psychiatry has relevance for the whole world. So the World Health Organization, for example, relies on the science of psychiatry to endorse its policies and how it's going to work economically or socially for people around the whole world. Now, I'm going to talk about that last question that you had, Sarah, which had to do with, are religious people in a way happier? Do they have less suicidal thoughts? Do they have less anxiety and depression? And the bottom line for this is that we don't actually know. I would like to think that whatever worldview somebody has actually helps them. So helps decrease their anxiety, decrease their depression, and have less suicidality. However, I have worked with people who, let's say, are ministers of religion that have not only had suicidal thoughts, but have actually completed suicide. And that's very sad. It's just as sad as anybody that I have spoken to that has eventually completed suicide. So the answers are very deep. There is a big interaction between religion and psychiatry. And in somebody who is a religious person, we start talking about those things if it's relevant to their situation at the time, but not always. So I hope that's a little bit of an answer to your question, Sarah, but I'm sure Hurricane's going to drill down and just
Did you know that? Huh?
I do.
Well, first of all, I do have Catherine, with a comment. I'm going to put her as soon as I do my little, I guess, dive in.
Yes,
so actually, Catherine is a PhD neurogeriatric cognitive psychologist. So she has a very deep question as well that we'll post in a minute, and she is live with us. So, but in the meantime, so. Doctor, I hear you, and thank you for breaking it down. But here's the thing, right? I mean, some people they tend to more veer out towards like going to church or mosque or synagogue, and that's where they find their psychotherapy, if you want to call it that way. That's where they find their Zen, right? They go in, prayers. I mean, I had a show about meditation, and we talked about prayers and how it's soothing, calming, and it doesn't matter which denomination of prayers or meditation type. But it sounds that it's more of that, piece. To your point, I mean, there's always an exception. People, in the case that you mentioned, someone who's a clergy did wind up, taking, that measure as an outcome, and which is not something we want to hear about. But in the concept of religion, people that tend to have faith or believe in God and believe in destiny, they tend to accept whatever is thrown at them. So their resilience is different. And therefore, there's less, I guess, need. And Indian culturally, I mean, I have to say, in a lot of I love what you said about it's a Western, thing, because you go to the East. I mean, you say to someone, and I think even the West, like you and I, we talked about it. That's why we have these anonymous, names and stuff that come into the show, because people are not really open to like, hey, I need to, to talk to someone, right? And there's the word shrink, there's the word I'm taboo, right. You have all those things. So it's been almost portrayed like, it's like, ooh, it's not a cool thing, right? But in the East, or the Middle East, or all other cultures, I would say, it's pretty like, you don't go to someone unless you're really, really going through, like going crazy. And I mean, literally. And the other thing is, there's some other beliefs there, that some of these folks, they have other practices. I mean, some of it is extremely as voodoo business. And I'm just, there's so many things depending on the culture where people have their own way of, I guess, coping, as opposed to dealing with the modern way, which is a lot easier to talk to someone.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to jump in there, Hurricane, because you brought up a lot of things, and you brought up, Dr. Heim, you're talking about this being for everybody, but the reality is, so let's go through some specific studies, right? So in the 1990s, we had a study that looked at the healing possibility of prayer. And this was done in California, and people were with heart disease were lying in hospital, and their names were given to people to pray about. And the studies showed that these people did better in hospital, and people got really excited about this. Oh, prayer helps. So we did another study. We did another study on alcoholics, right? So the people who had problems with alcohol were prayed for, and some were not prayed for, and we found that prayer did not make a difference. So this is what we get out of this. Scientifically, sometimes prayer helps and sometimes prayer doesn't. How that fits in religiously is very difficult to look at. Now, the other thing that I want to look at is people's experience of seeing a psychiatrist, because if we look at the States, just the United States, it's about 90% of the population have a belief in God. But when it comes to psychiatrists, it's about 45% of psychiatrists that have a belief in God. So, and this was another study out of the 90s, there's a gap. There's a gap there that isn't being filled. And so the question is, should people go to psychiatrists that have a faith, or, as you were talking about, people go to other psychotherapists? So you're talking about ministers, you're talking about imams, you are talking about rabbis, you are talking about shamans, okay? And now I'm going to bring us back to a book that was written in the 1960s. This is a book from 1965. It was by Jerome Frank, and it was basically called Healing. And what he looked at was all healers, all psychotherapists, from doctors to ministers to shamans, and they each had a healing effect. So there is something common to people who call themselves healers in their ability to work with people. Now, scientifically, we still don't know the mechanisms of that, but we do know that if you avail yourself of people who are experts, then they do a few things for you. They will give you knowledge. They will look at your emotions. They will hold the problem for you and work through things with you. They will give you hope and give you new experiences that will help in whatever you need to go through. And all of these things are very therapeutic.
Thank you, Doc. That's a lot of breakdown there, and
Well,
again,
yeah.
I mean, to your point, I mean, the world has a lot of options, and we have so many. I mean, this is like third season, so we've had so many topics that we've covered, and it all comes down to the mind. And I think I have a few questions that actually we're going to talk about that in further details right now. But
Yeah.
so I appreciate that, and I think at least our audiences, whatever they stand in terms of religion, they have the ability now to at least gauge that. First of all, even if you have the belief, medically you might need some assistance from that aspect of it, and there is that, and so there is a nice little balance. And to each his own, as we say, not everybody wants to accept one thing versus the other, and that's okay
Yeah.
too. We have choices, right? So I'm gonna bring our question to the screen. So here it comes.
Okay, so this is from Catherine Sullivan. I'm a neurogeriatric cognitive psychologist. Wow. My concern is that most life coaches do not know how to recognize early onset dementia. What do you suggest? Okay, so that's actually a good question, Catherine. As a neurogeriatric cognitive psychologist, you are qualified to be able to give diagnoses in a particular area, and that has to do with early onset dementia. And you talked about the idea of life coaches. Now, a life coach is not normally a doctor. A life coach does not have expertise in one particular area. So when it comes to the idea of diagnosis, that's when a cognitive psychologist has certain qualifications that help. And this is when we trust the science, that there are certain people that have trained in an area to know what they are doing, because to give somebody a diagnosis is a big thing. So what is a life coach supposed to do? A life coach is supposed to coach somebody in life so that their life is better. But anybody who is a life coach needs to know a line when to say, you know what, I think you need to talk to a doctor about that. I think you need to see somebody. I'm not quite sure what's going on, because all of us, even cognitive psychologists and adult psychiatrists, we have our limits in our knowledge, and we can't actually work beyond our limits when it's not therapeutic for the person that we're working with. So when it comes in the case of early onset dementia, which is a very specialized area and one which is important to get right as soon as we can, it's important to see somebody like you or a doctor, a geriatrician, who can actually do the diagnosis properly.
So doctor, I work with the senior community in the States, and dementia is just a big deal, and it is sometimes difficult, for not only the person that's going through it, but also the people that are around that person, right? So the caregivers, the family members. Since we're talking about this, I mean, they're the first live coaches within that particular parameter. I mean, obviously, seeking help is one thing. Definitely asking for the next level help, which like the psychology or psychotherapy. But really, the people, what would you tell them? To how would they mitigate some of that, at least to absorb and accept, the change? Because, for example, if my mom or my father is going through
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
I'm just as affected with
Yeah.
the repercussions,
Yeah.
and that's a big toll on me. So since
Yes,
we're
it
talking
is.
about this topic, what are some of the recommendations? And Dr. Catherine, you please jump into as well if you have any update there. But certainly, what are some of the things we can tell our audiences if they are dealing with dementia or somebody that has dementia onset or ongoing? So.
Okay, so the main message, Hurricane, is you've got to take care of yourself as well, to the point where if you need to see a therapist or somebody like a minister, somebody who is a help person for you, taking care just of you, that's actually very important. Because when somebody gets unwell, let's say with early onset dementia or any type of dementia, then, as you said, it affects all the people around them. Now, the thing is that we don't want the people around the person with dementia falling off the perch, okay, not being able to cope anymore, because then you have more people unwell. And it breaks my heart to see just how much this affects families. And I have some of this going on in my family at the moment. And the answer is for everybody to know that, to make sure that they have the help that they need personally, and that they help to the extent that they can help without falling over themselves, because we all have our roles to play in life, Hurricane. And when somebody is unwell, the question that you have to ask is, what is my role in this particular situation?
Thank you, doctor. And again, it is. I'm sorry to hear that that something is going on in the
Yeah.
family, but you're right. I mean, and by the way, that this is a question for me. I mean, we talk geriatrics here. I mean, can dementia be in a younger person? I'm just curious.
Well, this comes down to Dr. Catherine Sullivan's question of early onset dementia. What is early onset dementia? It's dementia in a young person. How young? Well, when somebody's in their 80s, dementia is more prevalent. When they're in their 70s, it sometimes happens. But when you're in your 60s and you get a form of dementia, then that is early onset dementia. And I have worked with people whose spouse developed dementia in their 50s, and that is tragically early onset dementia. And it does happen for various reasons that science does not always understand.
So that is that like a neurological
Yes.
issue? Okay, so that's what it
Yeah,
is.
so it's what we call a neurodegenerative disease, which basically means that there is something breaking down in the brain that shouldn't be breaking down. So sometimes there's buildup of toxins, sometimes there's buildup of age-related changes that happen earlier than they should. And if we all live to be 120, one would expect that eventually these things would build up in all of us. But when it happens early in your 50s or your 60s, it profoundly affects your life.
Okay,
So,
doctor. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
okay, so if we're talking about the causes of dementia, there is a buildup of toxins. There's a buildup of age-related changes, and they have done studies on what's called telomeres. So the parts of our cells that basically tell us our lifespan. And when we get to the end of, it's like getting to the end of a candle, sort of, whoops, there's no more candle there. So this is the end of your life. And for some people, these telomeres break down prematurely, and we don't understand why. And this whole idea of the body clock and how long we're supposed to be living and what makes a difference in that, we are just starting to understand. So, for example, your biological age may not be the same as your chronological age. So your chronological age is your birthday. If you are 70 this birthday, but people say, hey, you're looking good for 70, that means your biological age is younger than 70. Whereas there are some people who have had very difficult experiences where their biological age is older than their chronological age. So some people at 50 look as though they're already 65 or 70. And so there's a difference between what happens in time, linear time, and what happens with body changes. And we don't know all about that yet, but there are differences.
All right. Well, thank you, Doc. So I do have a few comments from Dr. Catherine here, Dr. Sullivan, and she also wants to add some comments. I did ask if she can join us in the discussion by calling in. So let's see if that happens.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, let me just show the notes. Give me 1 second here. Got to catch up with them here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a great paper called the Mental Health Matrix. It makes the distinguishing the difference between subjective quality of life compared to pathology. Yes. So psychiatry, and this is something that Catherine's getting at here. Psychiatry it's all about fixing people. It's fixing about what goes wrong. Whereas psychology is not always about fixing people. It's about looking what goes right and looking at how the mind works. So I gather that this paper called Mental Health Matrix looks at this difference between the subjective quality of life, so in other words, how you feel your life is going, and the pathology, so what's actually going wrong in your mind or in your brain. Thank you for the comment, Dr. Catherine Sullivan.
All right, so let's see if we can have Doctor join us in a discussion by calling in. So, Doctor, the number is on the screen. That's 732-332-8493. If not, Doctor, you can certainly just put in the comments, that you want to add in on the comment sheet right now, like whatever we're, I guess, having a little chat, and then I'll post it to the screen, and Doctor will interact with it. I'm assuming you got that, Doc. So
I got that. Yeah.
No. I'm talking about Dr. Catherine here.
Good.
Yeah. So yeah, please do call in, and we are ready for your. Oh, there she is. Doctor, I think I just hang up on you by mistake. So I apologize if you don't mind redialing. Yep. Yeah, we're just waiting for the doctor to join. Just give me 1 second. Yeah, we're just waiting for the doctor to join. Just give me 1 second. Doctor, are you with us? All right, we got technical difficulty here. We're hoping to get the call from Dr. Sullivan with us to join and add some new comments. In the meantime, there she is, Doctor.
Yeah, here, that's me. Are you there?
Yeah, yes, we hear.
Can you guys hear me?
Loud and clear.
Loud and clear.
Oh. Hello?
We hear you loud and clear.
Oh.
We hope to get the call from Dr. Sullivan with us to join and add some new comments in the meantime.
Oh, we lost her. Doctor, sorry about that. We could hear you. All right, so doctor, I'll go to the next question. Hopefully, Dr. Sullivan comes back. Oh, there she is.
Morning. Hello, your comment?
Hey, Doc, you're with us right now. You're live.
Doctor, sorry about that.
Okay.
May I ask you just to tune off whatever you're watching, on the LinkedIn, because it's reverbing, if you don't mind.
Oh, okay. So you can hear me now?
Oh yes, you're live. Doctor can hear you.
Yeah.
Sullivan comes back.
Yeah.
There she is. Morning. Hello, your comment?
Yeah, we're just hearing the back show. If you don't mind, you can just mute the
Okay.
device. Yeah,
So,
thank you.
so you can hear us?
Yeah,
Hear
we
me?
hear you. Go ahead, doctor. Doctor, we hear you.
Okay. So, so I think I'm talking to you through the.
We're just hearing the back show. Don't mind, you can just...
Yeah. Whatever you're watching, just mute that.
You can hear us?
Yeah, we
Yeah, we
hear
hear
you.
you.
All right. Now sounds like we're good now. Hey, Doc. Dr. Sullivan.
Yeah. Whatever you're watching,
Yeah.
just mute that.
Okay.
Yeah, we hear you.
Muted. Yeah. So I should be muted.
Okay, go ahead.
We're good now.
Okay. So sorry for the technical problems here. I imagine 10 years from now, when I'm gone, this will not be a problem.
Dr. Sullivan?
Yeah. Why are you not hearing me?
No, we hear you, but we hear also the previous. There's a delay, yeah. Go ahead, doctor. Dr. Heim?
Oh, yes, I'm here.
Okay, good. I thought I lost you there.
No, you haven't lost me.
No, you were just standing there. I thought you were froze for a minute. That's funny. All right, Dr. Sullivan, we can hear you. I don't know if you're still with us online. So, yeah, we please just join the discussion. Yeah, this is what happens in life, right? I mean, real life happens, technology happens, and we are actually. I'm not sure where Dr. Sullivan is calling from. I know Dr. Heim is from literally the land down under, from the future. We're in the past, so but it's always fun to have a guest on the call and joining us. So if you cannot you connect with us, we can just bring in the actual comments into the screen. So maybe that can help. So this was a comment from doctor about a young person that it could be a traumatic brain injury or stroke. So
yes.
All right. Unfortunately, doctor, we're not able to hear you. Sorry about that. We lost Dr. Sullivan, but we please stay with us on the discussion, on the comments, and I'll relate them to Dr. Heim. In the meantime, I'm gonna go to our next question, which is probably relevant to everybody watching and listening right now. So, are you ready, doctor?
I'm ready.
We live in a world where everyone is displaying wealth and boasts through social media. There is hardly any privacy, and it seems that it has become standard to share everything personal and or enticing, which can lead to the peer pressure factor, keeping up with Jones's syndrome, which impacts people and creates an unhealthy environment leading to stress, anxiety, pressures, and family issues, including divorce, suicidal tendencies. What tools does psychiatry offer to alleviate these things and help people? This is Janet, Florida.
Okay, Janet from Florida, thank you for your very important question. Unfortunately, what you say is true. We live in a world where there isn't much privacy and everything needs to be shared, or so it seems. And so all the disparity in our wealth is seen on social media. Now, psychiatry doesn't actually offer any tools as such, because we are still gathering evidence as to what the impact of social media is on the human brain and on our behavior. And until we get the evidence and then work out what to do about it, there's a time lag because things are changing very quickly. However, Janet, I've put out a video, and it's called Social Media Addiction. And it looks at all the evidence that shows how much of a problem social media actually is. And the one tool that we have is our ability to switch off, to turn off from the internet and make sure that we engage with people face to face. So on that video, I give, I believe it is 8 tips that people can use to make sure that they turn off from too much social media and turn on to the people that are right in front of them. So one thing that I encourage people to do, and if there's one thing that you can do for yourself, it is increase the amount of meal time that you have with people around you. There are some people that are not having a daily meal with other people. People actually have their meals in front of social media, or they're sick of their family, so they don't get together. But where we've gone from a society that used to have 6 meals a week together 50 years ago, we are now at a society where to have 1 meal together a week is becoming a rarity. So if you, Janet, in your world can turn that around somehow so that you actually have meals together with whoever you live with, if that's your family or if it's a group of college friends or a group of work friends, then have meals together. If you're having no meals together a week, have 1 a week. If you're having 1 a week, have 2 a week. The more face-to-face time we can have, the more our real world becomes the interaction that we have with the people around us, rather than the interaction that we have on screens, which is a virtual world, not a real world.
Thank you, Doctor. It's really a nightmare. I mean, unfortunately, it's happening everywhere, and it is difficult because I mean, I'm on social media every day, you know, and I see a lot of that, and there's a lot of marketing that's going on, and it's becoming very enticing to people. Like, or at least everybody wants what everybody else has, and sometimes people have limited means, whatever, but now they feel obligated to really, like, I want to do more. And some of it is motivating, don't get me wrong. I mean,
that's right.
There's a piece of that, but some of it could be difficult for people because they see all the stuff that is probably not as attainable as people think, and at least not in the fashion that sometimes is being portrayed. I mean, you hear some of these things like, oh, you can become a millionaire overnight. I mean, I'm not sure if that's possible. I mean, maybe it is. I don't know. I haven't met one that actually unless you win a lottery or something. But I mean, it does take some work. But certainly, attainable, achievable if you do the, put the time and everything else. But I think we need to just drive that message that, everything you see, whether it's a yacht, whether it's a Rolls Royce, whether it's a Ferrari, whatever, a luxury lifestyle, a billionaire lifestyle, these folks have done the work and they've gone there and they made it there. And also there's the other part, some of these things are brands that are, sponsoring some of these dresses, some of these cars and things as a means to promote their products. And therefore some of these people are actually their marketers or their influencers. And so let's not be foolish about, let's understand the reality. I think if we are in the reality piece, we can navigate easier. But if we just live in the fantasy that, oh my God, I think that's going to be a problem. And at least that's my opinion, though.
Yes, no, totally right, Hurricane. And what I want to do is take us into the brain to see how this works, because this is the real tool that psychiatry can offer. And there are 2 parts of the brain that I want to talk about. Hurricane, you spoke about motivation. Now, motivation is mediated in the brain by a chemical called dopamine. And we've spoken about dopamine before because it's very important in mediating our experience of pleasure which we all like. It mediates motivation. It mediates curiosity, so that if we can't actually enjoy certain clothes ourselves, we will enjoy watching other people that have those clothes and imagining what it might be like if we had it. The trouble is, if we get off social media, that dopamine hit then finishes, and then we end up in a low. So that's the one thing that keeps us hooked on social media and keeps us hooked on wanting things that we don't have. Now, you also mentioned how other people who have, let's say, a yacht have put in certain effort to get to that yacht. So I want to take us to another place in the brain. This is called the orbitofrontal cortex. And this is another place that we've talked about before. It's right in the front of your brain. In fact, when you go to a party, your orbitofrontal cortex arrives before the rest of your brain does. It leads you, and we don't talk enough about it. And what I mean by that is the orbitofrontal cortex is the place where we make decisions. And people believe that we live in a random world at the moment and that it just all happens and we just randomly drag ourselves through it. When the reality is our brain's orbitofrontal cortex makes decisions as to what we do every day. We have to make those decisions. So what I'm saying, Hurricane, is that choice and decisions are important. So to actually put in effort to achieve something in a week or two that you haven't achieved now is a decision that needs to be made in the orbitofrontal cortex. And that decision is real. You have the power to make that choice. However, you've got dopamine pleasure and the social media and the internet working against you actually getting up from your computer to make a choice and activate it in your life. And that's where we come back to motivation, and the people around you can keep you motivated to do the things that you should be doing in life so that you actually move forward.
Thank you, Doctor. I mean, motivation is a big thing. You know, I mean, I do a lot of it personally on the shows and stuff. But it is important. Like if you believe in something, you're gonna pursue it, and but it's your own time, your own limits, your own means. I think sometimes that is important to realize what you have to work with, and if you do it correctly, you shouldn't. Don't worry about the rest. I mean, I think you can set your targets, eyes on the prize, as I always say, but go for it. But just don't compete and expect that the results are going to be the same for everybody else, just because circumstances are different for one from the other. There's so many things that can be factors why someone can move faster than the other in the same direction. At the end of the day, it's like it's a marathon, right? You got to get to the finish line.
Well, that's true, but there's something else happening here, Hurricane, because you and I hate to say it, but we have older brains. So our brain remembers a time when there was not social media, there was no internet. So let me assume that somebody like Janet is in her early 20s and she has grown up with social media and the internet as part of her life. And so her brain is different to our brains. She's also gone through a very telling time in her life when she had COVID, and we all spent a whole lot more time indoors glued to screens. That happened to all of us. And the effects of that on a younger generation, unfortunately, is more, which means that somebody like Janet has to listen to the things that we're saying here, Hurricane, and use her orbitofrontal cortex to say, damn it, I'm going to make a difference here. I'm not going to let the social media dictate what I do with my brain. I'm going to decide to be engaged with the people around me, get more sunshine. And I even tell people like Janet just to go for a walk, because when you go for a walk, you're moving forward. And then when you think about what does it mean to move forward, it means to have a direction, to go where you want to go in life and get what you want to get and figure out how to get there. Because you know what, Hurricane, it takes effort, and it takes more effort in an age of social media and the internet.
It's amazing because it sounds like, at least from the perception, it looks like there is no effort needed, yet is the opposite.
It's a lot of effort. It takes a lot of effort, Hurricane. And we don't like saying that because nobody wants to hear how much effort life is. Okay?
Well, but doctor, so maybe there is a message to the people sometimes that are promoting these things, that
yes,
you're giving maybe in a light of motivation, you're also giving people false expectations, I would say.
Yes, you are.
I'm just being as blunt as it is, but
Yes, you are.
because listen, I have been working on a lot of things, and I'm doing left and right, and I've been doing good in my career path and everything. But you know what? Everything comes with a price and time, and you do stuff, and some people have different, I guess, lucks, if you want to call them that way. Whatever. I don't believe in luck. Just outcomes
Yes.
and based on your work.
Yes.
But just when you can promote this stuff, that's great. But I think you should
Yes.
tell people, hey, don't take this lightly, because results may vary, and you need to put in the time, the effort, and the energy, and the money, whatever it takes. But just don't think that this is going to be like, hey, cool, overnight it's happening.
Yes.
Listen,
That's right.
I'm in sales. I've been in sales. It's
That's
all about
right.
motivation and incentive,
That's right.
incentivizing people, but it's work to be done. That's it. I mean,
It's work to be done. Yeah. And so we go back to something that Janet said right at the beginning. One thing that she said is that there's so many comparisons with other people. And when you make these comparisons, and we have studies that show this, you end up depressed, you end up anxious, and you end up hopeless. So the thing that I also say to people like Janet is, rather than compare yourself with other people, put in the effort to be the best you that you can be. So you're not comparing yourself with other people, but you're comparing yourself with how you were 6 months ago. How am I compared to how I was 6 months ago? Am I doing better? Am I heading in the right direction? Am I moving forward? And if that becomes your goal, and if your motivation becomes the people around you, then you don't compare yourself with people on the internet who have yachts, Ferraris, or more fame, but you compare yourself with yourself, and you go, you know what? I'm moving forward, and I'm moving forward to become the best me that I can be, and moving forward in better relationships with the people around me.
Yeah, Doctor, thank you for really putting that out, because really the only person you compete with is yourself, and the one that you were today or yesterday. And you take it one day at a time, and that's right. And again, it will happen. I know for a fact that if you put your way into it, it's going to happen. And you have to be resilient, you have to be patient, and just keep the determination and the ambition.
Hurricane, you're exactly right, because even walking, it will happen. If you put one foot in front of the other, you will start to move forward. And we take that for granted. But if you actually think about it, it's actually a miracle that we can move forward simply by walking. And it becomes a metaphor for life, that as long as you put one foot in front of the other and take steps in the direction that you want to go, you're going to get closer. Every day you're going to get closer. And one day you'll get there.
Doctor, it's funny. I'm listening to you, but there's something that just popped up in my mind, is that, and you talked about like how our brains are different because we remember before the social media and all the stuff.
Yeah.
But I think one of the issues that's happening is that people, the younger folks right now, are seeing it differently, and I think that's an issue because they think that everything is going to be easier, or like they can see, so they want to cut corners, or maybe they want to bypass the necessary steps, which is not real. It's not realistic. And so again, because that causes psychological effect on people, because now you're hopeless because you're not seeing things. You're spinning wheels apparently. And you're feeling, well, why am I not getting those results? That's because it's not going to happen the way you think, because you're seeing a picture of anything. And listen, I've been cruising all over the world, and I've seen a lot of yachts out there, on ports. They look nice. I would love to have one, but I know it takes a lot to get there. But so you if you don't take the necessary, I guess, pieces and parts and blocking, like building blocks, nothing's gonna happen. A building, like you look at these Freedom Tower, for example, in New York. It took years to actually build back, right? The foundation itself took years. So nothing that is worth something is gonna be like overnight. That's it.
Yes.
And I'm freezing. It looks funny on the picture here. So
yes. And that's the difference when young people who figure this out, that say I have to put in the effort first. There's just no way that life is going to be easy. So I've talked about this before. The whole reason that we have a car is because we didn't like walking. So we learned to ride horses. Horses weren't fast enough, so we got a few horses. Then we started getting cars, and the cars got faster and faster, all so that our life can become more convenient. However, to build a car takes a whole lot of people to be able to put in the effort to put in a whole factory to put in cars for everybody. But when it comes down to the individual, we want the convenience. And the problem with social media and the internet is it gives us too much convenience when really we need to keep putting in effort somewhere.
Thank you, Doctor. By the way, right now we're great on the audio, but I don't know what's going on, but our faces are like just frozen. So people are watching right now, like, we just have a funny face, both of us. Anyway, so I'm going to go to the next question. Hopefully this frame will actually unfreeze any minute. Are there known psychological reasons that drive human envy and jealousy? And why is it that some people tend to always want what others have rather than be content or work for what they want? Derek, Georgia.
Okay. So Derek asks a very, very interesting question. And to get into this question, Derek, I'm going to look at the word jealousy, because it's actually jealous is the same word as zealous. So jealous is when you want something that somebody else has, whereas zealous is when you want something very much for yourself. Now, the thing is that jealousy comes from things that you love and things that you're passionate about. So what I'm saying through all of this, Derek, is that the energy of this emotion can become positive or negative. And so if you feel these emotions in yourself, the idea is to be able to mix thoughts with the emotion so that you're using your frontal lobe of your brain to mix with your limbic system to get the outcome that you want. So let's say Derek says, I'm feeling really jealous at the moment because somebody's got something that I don't want. So you think about it and you go, that means that I want something. And want is motivation. And if you say, all right, if I want this, what can I do to get it? Now, I'm just not encouraging you to go out to get somebody else's girlfriend, Derek, okay? I'm encouraging you to go out and get a job that you think is nice because somebody else has it, all right? The thing is that the energy of jealousy can work for or against you. And that becomes your choice. And we're back in that area of the brain that we talked about before, the orbitofrontal cortex, where we make choices.
Thank you, Doctor.
Is that a start? Is that a start, Hurricane, for what Derek wants?
Oh, I think that's perfect. The concept of jealousy, to me, I cannot comprehend it. I mean, I hear you, Doctor, but you want something bad. I get it. We want a lot of things in life. And I personally don't believe that if someone has something great, I'm happy for them. I mean,
yeah.
I want them to have more of it.
Yeah.
I don't care what they have because that's what they achieved. And I think jealousy is like negative. I mean, I can want what they want and what they have, and I just work for it and wish them well and just get what. And I think the biggest part is being content. People are not content with what their life. Now, we talked about religion before, and when you think about religious people, typically tend to believe that there is it's meant for me or not meant for me, right? You're not, some people are going to be richer than others and so on and so forth. There is that concept. And, it actually almost talks about not being envious or jealous for other people and not wishing for people to lose whatever they have. Because I think that's the thing. When people are jealous about something, whatever they have, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a husband, a wife, kids, money, whatever, they tend to typically, want that stuff to leave them, to actually to lose that stuff. They almost wish ill on those people, and I and that's the part that I just cannot comprehend. I mean, everybody's different. Everybody's life is meant different. I mean, our lifespans are different. Our everything about you or I, for example, is different, right? And I am not you, you're not me, and my destiny is different. We meet in this world, and that's how it is. And I see a lot of beautiful things out there, and I say, you know what? Hey, great, man. I love when someone says, "Oh, that's a beautiful car, nice car," but you can feel that the person is happy for you, not like, damn, why do you have this car? You don't deserve this car.
Yeah. So what you've just put to us, Hurricane, is a life view where we can wish each other well, because good experiences are what we all want. And when somebody else gets it, you can actually wish them well rather than ill. Okay. So in other words, you don't have to go into competition with everybody. However, some people feel really strong emotions and they don't know how to handle these emotions. And jealousy is one of these emotions. So before I talk about that,
Doctor?
I just want to talk about the difference between envy and jealousy. Okay. So imagine that you're walking down a street in Paris and you see this couple at a cafe and the sun is shining and they seem to be really enjoying themselves. And you're alone. And so you start feeling one of these emotions, envy or jealousy. Okay. But then you get closer and you realize that one of the people that's sitting there is actually your girlfriend, right? And that's either envy or jealousy, all right? And people 100% know that wanting what somebody else has is just envy. However, when something is happening to somebody that you care about, that becomes jealousy. And in a lot of males in particular, a very strong jealous reaction can rise up to the point where people get so angry that they can do some damage. And pathological jealousy is a psychiatric condition that often needs hospitalization. So what do you do in this situation? Okay, when you have these strong emotions, first of all, you've got to know that you're in the grip of a strong emotion. And okay, so I give people a red light and a green light and a traffic light. So when you're in the grip of a strong emotion, you see a red light. When you see red, stop everything that you're doing. Then you go to amber or yellow. And this is an area where you think, what's the next thing I'm going to say? Think, what's the next thing I'm going to do? And then you go to green. And green means go. Do something when you know that it's safe and you have planned it. So when you use this traffic light of red, yellow, and green, you can use it to help you handle strong emotions. And I have on the internet a whole lot of techniques of how to handle strong emotions, but this is probably the most immediate, so that when you know that you're in the grip of a strong emotion, you stop everything that you're doing and you don't say or do anything. Then you think, which is yellow, and then you only go to green when you know it's going to be safe.
I love it. I mean, it's a very simple concept. It's amazing. Like, Doctor, I'm telling you, I love how you break it down. And when you visualize this, it just makes it easier. I think for someone watching and listening right now, I'm not sure about watching because we're frozen, but definitely listening. The idea is very clear. I think I can see it exactly how you're actually describing it, Doctor.
Yeah. Well, particularly for young males. Young males are strong. They're driven by testosterone and they can do a lot of damage. And young males actually don't want to do a lot of damage. And the thing is that a lot of people then sort of deny their emotions or push away their emotions. And the problem with that is you don't end up controlling your emotions. And this is where you've got to get your emotions, which happen in the limbic system, and mix them with thoughts. Thoughts happen in the frontal lobe of the brain. And when you mix those two together, you go, okay, I am in the midst of a strong emotion. What am I going to do next? What am I going to do? And you think before putting the body into action.
Doctor, you just got frozen in that last sentence. If you don't mind, you just please repeat it. I'm sorry.
Oh, the last sentence. Okay. So the last sentence was, when you combine your thoughts and your strong feelings, then you can think and say, what is the next thing I'm going to say or do? And you can choose your words and your actions before putting the body into motion.
All right. I think that's a powerful advice, I think, for all of us. And for me personally, I can take that because it is important for each one of us to actually use what we hear and apply it in real life. I mean, it's funny. I will make this joke, with some other guests, that I'm the first customer of my own shows. I just I absorb everything, and
Yeah.
you're my doctor. I mean, I know we don't have that relationship like a doctor relationship, but I take all this stuff, and it really keeps me motivated. And by the way, I take this also through my family, and it's working in my family. It's helping me, deal with different things within my own personal life. And that's really what it is. It's real applications and real resources, or at least I guess systems that we can apply in real life that can get us through everyday's life and really be
Yeah.
happier.
Yeah, 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 and that's why the work that I do is based on science, so that I can talk about these things, and then you and other people can then translate it into whatever's needed in life at that time, be it in your family or in your motivational work that you do, Hurricane.
Well, doctor, again, you're doing this, and I always say, first I want to thank you as always. We're coming to the end of the show. I always want to thank you for your coming, to this show, and even doing this for 3 seasons now. We're getting there. I mean, it's been it's been a long run, yeah, a long run, and I really appreciate everything that you've done for our network here and for the show and for the people around the world. And I follow you. I enjoy those clips of you doing your pitches around the world, and it's important, I think, sometimes to just take and absorb and pick some stuff that's going to be good tools for us to live a happier life and a better life, also be better in this world, and as we always
Yeah.
talk about, contribute better.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Hurricane, because I appreciate the opportunity that you've given me to be able to talk about these things. So we're a team, and that becomes a metaphor for the way the world needs to work. If we work together as a team, we can create and accomplish so much more.
There's no I in team.
That's right.
We've talked about it. In unity, there is strength, and we're only going to get stronger by helping each other and holding each other, tighter. And again, look, I mean, we're from two different parts of the world, different beliefs, different everything. But you know what? This proves that we can all work together in harmony and make it work. And I hope that message, resonates well with people watching and listening around the world. And we're gonna keep doing this. And doctor, may I? I know you're gonna be in the States in about a month or so, and we will promote that event, and hopefully, people can even join us, whatever we are, because we're gonna do a live show actually from an actual location in the city, and so maybe people can come in and meet with you, doctor. How about that?
That'll be great. Hurricane, looking forward to that. When that live show happens, we will be there with you in the States. Unfortunately, next month, we'll be somewhere along the way, so we won't have our monthly one, but we're looking forward to being with you there somewhere on the East Coast.
Well, yeah, that's okay, because the next one will be early on, and we will be together, which will be the first in 3 years. So I'm looking forward to it, doctor.
Looking forward to it, Hurricane.
All right, folks. Well, there you have it. Dr. Heim with us, as always. Climb to Your Prime with Dr. Heim. That's our monthly live Q&A. Please do send in your questions, and we have a whole bunch left, from today for the next one. And again, do join us, comment, and please interact with us. This is your show, and it only can help. That being said, thank you so much for being with us, and we'll be talking, I guess not June, in July sometimes, and we're not going to tell the date until it's close, so it will be promoted before, so people can actually catch us up on the real live set together, me and Dr. Heim. And I think Dr. Caroline will be with you, right, doctor?
Oh, she certainly will. That's right, Hurricane.
All right. So I'll have the dynamic duo. Both doctors will be on the set. So that's going to be an interesting, and a more powerful, because I think you're also talking about the book that we talked about last show, and so that's about relationships and things like that.
Yeah,
it's going to be very, very interesting. So I look forward to that, and we'll be answering questions as well. All right, doctor. Well, listen, you have a great Saturday.
Thank you, and you have a great rest of Friday.
Thank you, sir. We'll be talking soon, man.
That sounds great.
All right. Bye for now.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Take it easy. Bye bye. My system is frozen.
Yeah, I can
It's
see that.
yeah. We I don't know what happened. It just literally froze and it's not cooperating. So,
Yeah.
uh, but but we have it. It's been live. So it's also recorded in multiple systems. So
Yeah, also, that was a very interesting topic that you started off with, Hurricane, the interaction between psychiatry and religion. There's still a whole lot more to talk about there, and a long way to go, because the bottom line is, Hurricane, everybody has their faith, whatever that is, and they would like to know how it fits in, to something like psychiatry. And it does. I can't hear you, Hurricane. Hurricane's gone. So much spiritual attack, sweetheart. Unbelievable. Okay, so Hurricane, I'm going to stay here until you get back on or not, okay?
doctor.